YouTube, this is Justin, aka Demonic Sweaters, here with another Linux type tutorial. And sorry I'm doing the handheld phone camera right now, but really this has been a really crazy video making day for me. I've been working on this thing all day. But this is part 2 to my Ecasound tutorial that I uploaded probably about a week ago, part 1 of Ecasound. And if you're not familiar, Ecasound is a 100% text-based recording software, digital audio workstation for Linux. Now, why would you want to do this, you may be asking? Well, why not? I mean, there's a lot worse things you could be doing with your time, and plus it's really educational, and it helps you learn a lot about Linux, as well as how to write commands and codes and all that cool stuff, as well as, you know, just to have fun for recording. Like, it's kind of like using a tape recorder in a way, because you don't see anything graphic like you do on digital audio workstations or traditional digital audio workstations, but it's more like in the old days where you would just press record and play on a tape recorder, and then you just play, you know. So like, it's kind of like, reminds me of that a little bit. So what I did, I'm actually towards the end of this video as far as recording the footage right now. I'm just doing this intro. But what I did is I went through and I wrote a new chain setup file, and went in and recorded some live drums, as well as came back to the apartment and did a little mix down with a new chain setup file of that with some effects and all of that stuff. So I'm going to show you guys all of that right now, and we'll get into it. So here we go. All right, so before I head over to the studio, I just wanted to show you guys the new chain setup file that I created for recording some. What I'm going to do is record some live drums over the last 2 tracks that I had recorded in the first video, which was Hydrogen and then a synth track. So you can see those right here. Well, let me explain this all to you. If you haven't watched the first video yet, definitely check that out. I'll put a link down below in the description. But okay, so these are the various chains, and just to explain what's happening here, remember the -A signifies to Ecasound that it's going to be a chain, and then you number them. So we have, my first chain is, my input is going to be jack, and then comma system. Now this is actually really cool because I have a 4 input audio interface on my computer, or hooked up to my computer, and I have one here at home, and then I also have one in the studio, but I'm going to be using the one in the studio. And then you can actually tell Ecasound which input that you want to connect to what wave file that you're going to write. And what I mean by that is, here you can see jack, comma, system, and if we look at our patch bay here, if we look at jack, then we have system, so it's going to be comma system, and then you do colon, and then we can see capture 1, capture 2, capture 3, capture 4. And if I were to open up Ecasound, let me go ahead and do that. So if we go to Ecasound here, interactive mode is -C, and then -S will be recording drums. Oh wait, let me switch to my Ecasound directory. So okay, so Ecasound -C-S. All right, now another thing that I realized in between the first video and this video is you can actually start the audio processing engine in Ecasound before you actually start recording. And what that does is, remember before in the other video I was talking about how sometimes the very beginning of the audio cuts off. That is if you do not start the audio processing before you start recording. So if you do this, that won't happen. And the way to do that, well, first let's just press H for help, and then right there you can see where it says engine launch right here. That's all you have to do. So you just type in engine launch. And now if we look at our connections here in Ecasound, you can see that the system captures have all connected to the various ports in Ecasound. Now, the one thing that I've noticed that is kind of strange with Ecasound, that I'm not exactly sure why this does this yet, even though I designated all of these chains here to be mono files, and I actually didn't explain that yet, but I will here in a second. For some reason, the first 1 in Ecasound always creates a stereo input. But as you can see, these last ones here, 3, 4, or 2, 3, 4, or 5, those are, or sorry, 3, 4, and 5 are all mono. And so you're coming from capture 2, capture 3, and capture 4 going into the mono inputs in Ecasound. And capture 1 is going into input 1 in Ecasound, and input 2 just has nothing on it. But that's okay. I mean, I don't think that'll cause a problem. I can just, you know, just change that to a mono file in the mix, so it's not going to be a big deal. Now, to further explain this, what you're looking at here, we got to the capture 1 that tells Ecasound which input in your jack audio interface it's going to use. Then here, the -F flag is for format. And so what I did here is I told it it's going to be a float 32 bit. And then the next argument is going to be how many channels. So I put in 1 channel for mono. And then after that, we have the sample rate, 44,100. And then you just designate the output file. So kick, you know, as you can see, once you start that audio engine, it creates all of those files already to be written in whatever folder you're in. So one thing you could do, like I just created a folder called Ecasound. And then if you wanted to even do takes, what you could do is create subfolders, you know, take 1, take 2, take 3. And then for each time you start Ecasound, you just open it up in the other subfolder, and then you won't overwrite your other files. So little tip right there. But anyway, what I'm going to do is take this. I already wrote this chain setup file to my iBook, and I'm going to still use the iBook over in the studio. I'm showing you on my Dell right now, but I just wanted to show you real quick before I headed over there what this all looked like. So I'm going to head over there now, and then we'll continue the video. All right, so I've got Ecasound set up here in the studio, and I have all my mics hooked up already. Everything should be a good level, I think. Now, one of the things I didn't really go over is how to get a level in Ecasound. You really, there is a way to do that, but maybe I'll have to do that in another one, because my actual interface, or my interface actually has built-in level meters on it where you can see if you're going over or not, or anything like that. So it makes it a little bit easier for me, but you may not have that. So what I'm going to do though is I have Ecasound open, and then it's a good idea. I don't know if you probably can't see this, but on my in my console I have 2 tabs open. One where I have the chain setup file open in case I need to make any changes to it. I have that, and then I also have Ecasound open another one. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and start the engine. Make sure that all of my connections are good. And let's just see. System capture. And yeah, it all appears to be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and practice here and see what it sounds like in my headphones. T to start. All right, well, I can at least hear that back. See, the thing is I need to write another chain setup to be able to hear it back. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so I wrote the other chain setup file, and I'll go ahead and show an example of that on the screen so you guys can see what I actually did there. And now I'm going to load that into Ecasound so I can hear back what I just recorded. Go ahead and launch the engine again. Make sure everything connects correctly. And it looks like it did. And okay, I'll go ahead and play it back. All right, so that seems to work, but the one thing that I noticed is when I do it like that and I don't specify which channel to send the the files to, it just defaults all of them to the left channel. So I can fix that in the Ecasound chain setup file for playback, which isn't that hard to do. So I'll do that in the one that I show you guys. But basically it'll be just splitting each one individually left and right. Now there may be a better way to do this that I haven't figured out yet, which probably there is, but I haven't figured that out yet. So another thing though that I probably want to do, which I haven't done yet, which is configure my latency compensation for jack on this iBook. So I'm going to do that before I continue recording because I actually haven't done that yet. All right, so I just finished configuring the latency compensation for jack. Now, if you're not familiar of how to do that, I do believe I made a tutorial on that, and if so, I'll post a link down below. I actually can't remember. I think I did. If I didn't, then I'll definitely make one. It's very simple to do. It's kind of like the same concept of configuring audio latency for Audacity, which I know I did make a tutorial on that very recently, but there's a specific program for jack that you can configure your latency compensation with. Now, anyway, it wasn't that bad. It really didn't sound that bad playing it back how it was, but I just want to make sure that there was no time delays between the two tracks when I overdub. So I'm going to go ahead and try it again, and I made my playback file a little bit better that splits up the channels to opposite sides of my headphones so everything's not in the left side. So now here I go again. I'm going to go ahead and try to record one more time, and maybe I'll make it through the song this time. That actually sounds quite cool. I'm pretty happy with that, but I'm going to go ahead and create another subdirectory so I can do another take. I do want to hit those changes a little bit better, but as far as the recording quality, I think it sounds excellent. Now, I just did put all new heads on my drums, so I'm sure that has something to do with it. Well, sort of all new. These were some heads that I had on here before. These are all attack coated heads, except for the bass drum. I have an Aquarian texture coated on the bass drum. But I went from using all Aquarian clear. Here's a Super Kick 1 I used to have on the kick, and then I had all Studio X Aquarians on the toms and snare, and I switched that all over to single ply coated heads, so I'm getting a more resonant kind of open sound now, which is cool. But let me go ahead and try it again. And let me make a subdirectory, so make dir, or mkdir, take 2. Now all I have to do is edit my chain setup file so it points to the new directory to record the new file, so I don't overwrite my old file. So all I have to do is basically append the file names to include the new directory. Turn up the headphones a little bit this time. And here we go. It up. All right, that's good enough. So that actually came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. So what I'm gonna do now is head back to my house and plop it onto my computer there, and then we'll start messing around with it in Ecasound and see if we can do a mix. All right, so I'm back here in my apartment, and let me just minimize my screen recorder here. So this is what I came up with, and what you're looking at here in this area, this black text editor here, this is my mix chain setup file that I came up with. And let me just explain everything that you're seeing here. Now, a couple of things you're going to want to familiar yourself with in order to do something like this. And that is one, the effects presets page, which is, or definition file, which if I get out of here, let me just exit out of here. It is in user/share/Ecasound. And then if we just go in here to presets, it's just a file that's called presets. And what this is a bunch of presets for the built-in effects that are in Ecasound. And if you just scroll through this text document, I know this looks like a lot of stuff here, and it is. I mean, there's a ton of crap. It's crazy how much you can do with this program. And if you had like a lot of time on your hands to enter in all these commands and parameters and all this stuff, you could do a pretty complicated mix. I didn't do anything that complicated. Mine's fairly simple, but basically what all this stuff is just a bunch of different parameters. Like Ecasound has a lot of built-in effects. It also has the ability to use LADSPAs, but I did not do that in this example because that is even more complicated. But what I'm trying to say is the presets file makes it easy to use the effects. And the way that these work, like for example, up here in my chain setup, well, first off, okay, there's a lot to kind of explain here, but since I recorded my drums, my acoustic drums, into individual mono files, with the panning effect within Ecasound, you have to do something kind of weird first, which is this right here, this -ERC command or flag, and then 1,2. What that basically does is it converts the mono format sound to a 2-channel sound that allows Ecasound to be able to pan that. That's the simplest way to put it. If you don't have that in there and you just try to use the panning command, which is this right here, it won't work correctly if it's a mono file. If it's a stereo file, it'll work just fine. Now, the EPP panning parameter, how this works is basically you're saying the percent right, the number right here. So you have -EPP and then colon, and then 50% right will actually be directly in the middle. And if we look down here at one of my other EPPs, this 0, this is my left overhead, EPP 0, so that's putting it all the way to the left, and then EPP 100 is putting my second overhead all the way to the right. Okay, now the EA, this is the Amplify effect, and basically this is your volume. So that's my kick drum. I wanted it to be a little bit louder, and so I pumped that one up to 120, as well as the snare drum I have set at 120 right here. And you'll notice right here on my snare, this -PD plain reverb, this is one of these effect presets that I was talking about. And the way I was able to determine that is if we go down here into the reverbs, somewhere in here, right here, time reverb. So it tells you what the reverb parameters are right here, ETR, :60, 070, and I could go and explain all that, but I'm not going to. These are just the effect parameters, but the shortcut to that is this -PD plain reverb. So that's why this preset is nice, or this presets file is nice. It makes it easier just to do things, and you can actually define your own presets too. So you could experiment with the parameters, and you can just keep adding them into this file if you want, and then you could have all these different presets, and you could come up with your own, and create a bunch of different presets, and then it's easier to basically write them into your chain setup files later on. So that's what that is. And then here, ERC, I already explained that converts to mono, -EPP, again, that's panning, and then Amplify, EA, so that one's going a little bit higher. And then my overheads, I amplified down a little bit to 90%, and that is a percentage, that parameter in the EA command, so just so you know. There's a few different versions of that, but the one I'm using is the simplest one. And down here in my drums, dot wave, that was the electronic drums, the ones from Hydrogen, and so there I left them panned in the center because it's a stereo file, and I didn't have to do this ERC command for that. And then the amplification, I set that one down to 75 because that one was pretty loud already. And then here, finally, my synth parameter, that was the K1, which is also a stereo file. I have the bathroom reverb effect on there with the preset, as well as a panning set to the middle because it was already panned, it's stereo, and then my amplification set to 85%. Now, those are all the different chains, the inputs. And now you'll notice here what you could do that's pretty nifty is you could go here and go create another chain command and then just colon all, and that tells it to use all of these chains up here and then writing my output to jack. So I already have that connected here, and all I have to do now is just play it back. So let's go back into Ecasound, which I already have open right here. Set pause 0, which rewinds back to the beginning, and now I'm just going to press T for play. And yeah, it's a fairly decent mix. I mean, it's not like incredible, but oh, I thought I used, oh, I forgot to explain, let me stop this. I forgot to explain the compressors. So I actually use compressors on the drums too. So on the kick drum and the snare drum, I used presets, soft compressor, and then the overheads I used medium compressor. And those are nice to be able to use the presets on the compressor effect because it's pretty complicated to type in all that stuff yourself. But anyway, let me go ahead and play again a little bit more. And I'm going to play this like the full song, and I'll show you the video of me playing drums to it here in a minute. Actually, I might as well do that now because there's really nothing else I can show you here. I don't know why it's not playing. I think because you have to, when you do it like this, oh, one other thing I forgot to talk about. Sorry, I'm jumping around. But if you do your output just to jack and you don't define, like if you don't do comma system or anything like that, it's just going to basically create the jack ports, but you still have to connect them manually to your system playback like you would any other jack device. So the other thing that I forgot to mention, though, now say I want to save this as a mix. So let's just go ahead and say YouTube mixdown.wave. Save that file again. And I'm going to exit out of here, then reload my chain setup file. Okay, now I press T. It's going to create that file for us. And there we go. So it already finished. Let's take a look. Go to my file browser, which is somewhere. I'm still getting used. I just set up this desktop actually pretty recently that we're working on right now. Let's see, Ecasound, okay, and then YouTube mix should be in here somewhere. And there it is, YouTube Mixdown Wave. Let's open this up in Audacity and take a look at it. Okay, that does not seem to have worked. Why? I'm not totally sure. Oh, maybe because I didn't exit out of... Let me exit out of Ecasound. And I think that will make it finish writing the file. So let's see if this will work now. Maybe. And yeah, that was it. So, you know, really I didn't have to do that in interactive mode. I could have done that just regular, and that wouldn't have happened. But because I was in interactive mode, I had to exit out of Ecasound before it basically wrote the headers to the file. So let's go ahead and take a listen. And I need to change this to Jack. All right. not bad. I mean, I've heard much worse mixes. I mean, sometimes a simple mix is the best mix. Anyway, let me go ahead and I'm just going to use this and I'll play you the video of me playing drums and you guys can check out the full track. That's good enough. All right, everybody, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed the second installment. This is probably going to be the last installment of my Ecasound recording, although it may pop up in some other videos about other stuff, you know, because I do like it. It's fun to use, and hopefully you learned something and you found it helpful. If you did and you enjoyed it, let me know down below. Click the thumbs up, as well as subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you could, check out my Patreon page. It's patreon.com/demonicsweaters. If you become a patron right now, you're going to receive my brand new album, In Depth. I can't even say the name of my own album. But my brand new album is called In Depth, and it's coming out, well, it's going to be out officially in about 3 months, but those of you who are patrons right now will be receiving it within a week, or about, you know, probably 3 or 4 days as to the time I'm making this video. So, and that's for any amount. If you become a patron for $1 a month, $5 a month, you'll get an advanced copy of the album. And as well as you can also get free downloads to previous releases, as well as access to my Discord server where you can chat with me directly and ask me questions about Linux stuff or whatever else you want to know about. Also, yeah, just thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for the next live stream, which is going to be coming up in the next couple of days. So thanks again, everybody, and I'll see you real soon.